But let's take you now to this live story. ANC Deputy President Paul Mashatile is speaking at the National Union of Mineworkers Congress on behalf of the ANC. Let's take you live there now.
On his behalf. Comrade delegates, I bring to you warm and revolutionary greetings from the leadership and membership of the African National Congress. We send our best wishes to one of our trusted allies, the National Union of Mineworkers, as it holds its special National Congress. We send our best wishes and we look back with pride at the history of the National Union of Mineworkers, which to us represent the history of class struggle in this country. Up to this day, we recognize the NUM as a progressive and preeminent voice of workers in the mining, energy, construction, metals, and metal sectors of our economy. You are part of the motive forces for the National Democratic Revolution. For you are among those who stand to benefit the most out of the successful execution of our revolution. You are also among the unifying forces of the working class, whose strength lies in the awareness of its interest and preservation of class unity. Building working class consciousness and unity, therefore, remains critical. We expect this union of comrades, James Motlatsi, the founding president of NUM, Comrade Elijah Bahai, President Cyril Ramaphosa, who was the founding general secretary, Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe, and also the national chairperson of the ANC, Comrade Gwede Mantashe, all of whom took a lead in this regard. Linked to this is the work we must do collectively to build the unity and cohesion of the tripartite alliance. Our presence, therefore, here today is but one practical demonstration of our commitment as the ANC to a strong and vibrant alliance with all our allies. As we undertake this work, we are guided by the words of President O.R. Tambo when he said, and I quote, "Ours is not merely a paper alliance, created at conference tables and formalized through the signing of documents and representing only an agreement of leaders. Ours is an alliance. Our alliance is a living organism that has grown out of struggle," close quotes. Comrade delegates, even as we may face challenges within the alliance, we must never lose sight of its historic and strategic importance. Accordingly, as the ANC, we will never abandon our revolutionary task to work ceaselessly towards the unity of the alliance, for in our view, the unity of the alliance is of paramount importance. It is only through a united alliance guided by a joint program of action that we can deliver on the objectives of the National Democratic Revolution, to build a truly united, democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous South Africa. We are conscious of the reality that unity cannot and should not be equated to the absence of differences. Indeed, unity does not mean sameness. It doesn't mean we will agree at all times. However, ours should always be unity of purpose and unity in action. We also expect members of our trusted ally, the NUM, to play a significant role in the renewal, revitalization, and the unity of the ANC. While we have made some progress in renewing and rebuilding the ANC, we must act with even greater purpose and urgency going forward. We need to renew the ANC in order to restore its relevance and to narrow the social distance between us and our people. Renewal will also enhance the ANC capability and credibility as an effective force for transformation and a trusted agent for change. Comrades, a renewed ANC is one that is not preoccupied with itself and its internal dynamics. It is an ANC that is in touch with communities, an ANC that is responsive to the needs of the people, an ANC that spends more time resolving problems of the people. Renewal requires that we also build a strong alliance with the South African Communist Party and COSATU. It is also about renewing our commitment to the values of the ANC. That includes hard work, honesty, selflessness, allowing democratic debates in our ranks, but more importantly, a movement that thrives on discipline, criticism, and self-criticism. Renewal is about strengthening the organizational culture and building an ethical movement. It is about modernizing our movement. It is also about winning the fight against corruption and unacceptable conduct within the ranks of our organization and in society. A renewed ANC will demand accountability from its leadership and deployees in government. Within a renewed ANC, members will be able to debate issues without retribution in appropriate fora of the organization. Part of the renewal process must also include strengthening branches of the ANC, with NUM members being at the forefront of this endeavor in our communities, working with all of us. Comrade delegates, as we renew and revive our movement, let us also recommit ourselves to uniting our movement and the alliance at all times. Let us remember that unity is the very basis upon which our organization and alliance was founded. Unity is therefore sacrosanct. It is a fundamental principle and pillar of which we will stand or fall as a broader revolutionary movement. Without unity, there can be no renewal, and there can be no unity of the alliance. Comrade delegates, this NUM Special Congress is taking place at a time of increased volatility and uncertainty in the global commodity markets. This is a time where, as stakeholders, we are called upon to respond to a series of severe and mutually reinforcing shocks. These have profound implications for the global economy, our own national and regional economies, industries, firms, and households. The mining industry in particular has seen its fair share of highs and lows over the past decade, including particularly the previous year. Intransigence from the mining bosses have seen the industry facing prolonged industrial action, particularly early in 2022. Continuing energy supply challenges, global supply chain disruptions, and volatility or a volatile commodity market have also hindered growth and employment in this sector. For this year, the sector faces improved prospects, we hope. However, the risks are tilted towards the downside. This includes, of course, a slowing global economy. Comrade delegates, as you know, South Africa is exceptionally well endowed with mineral resources. We are home to the large reserves of the platinum group metals, gold, chromite, manganese, and vanadium, amongst others. Historically, mining was an important catalyst for the development of other economic sectors and a principal driver of our current infrastructure network. The sector remains an important contributor to the fiscus, economic growth, and job creation. It is also a major earner of foreign exchange. To us, mining remains a sunrise and not a sunset industry. In this, we are reassured by our vast mineral endowments, our leadership and expertise across the mining value chain, the tenacity of our workforce, as well as our advanced technical skills. Going forward, therefore, we expect South Africa to remain a global mining powerhouse. We are fully cognizant of the reality that the transition to a low-carbon economy will also create new opportunities for the mining sector. Our country must grab these opportunities with both hands. Accordingly, as the ANC will ensure that legislation and regulation for the mining sector remains predictable and stable, and that it allows the country to remain competitive globally. We also urge our government, the ANC government, to deepen the linkages between the mining and other economic sectors, including upstream and downstream producers. Equally, the ANC will ensure that South Africa develops and enhances legislation and the regulatory environment so that mining attracts and remains a key pillar of our economy. It is, in our view, that government must place priority on implementing an intensive program of mineral exploration. This will allow for new mines to be opened and new minerals, some of which are critical to the energy transition underway globally, as we discover these new opportunities and new mines. So we are saying, comrades, that we need to move to this just transition in our own pace, recognizing the fact that we do have these assets and we need to continue to use them optimally so that we don't go on the pace of others. We will go with them there, but we will go in our own pace. Comrades, in recent years, the South African mining industry has experienced falling levels of investments and exploration, experienced job losses, and increased cost pressures. Also disturbing is that South Africa has been unable to take full advantage of the massive increase in demand and prices for commodities. As an example, in the 6 months of June 2022, the mining sector contracted by 7.3% compared with the same period in 2021. The final 6 months of 2022 are likely to reflect a similar downtrend, which is a worrying phenomenon. The ongoing energy crisis, as well as serious challenges in our logistics sector, remains the biggest constraint to the mining performance. It is in these areas where we are required to take the most urgent and decisive action. For instance, it is estimated that up to 40% of our economic underperformance can be attributed directly to the ongoing energy crisis. According to the South African Reserve Bank, load shedding likely lowered the 2022 third quarter real GDP growth by 2.1% or percentage points. So against this background, the ANC government remains single-minded in its resolve to end load shedding within a much shorter time frame than originally projected. How do we achieve this? Government's approach in this regard focuses on three important things. Firstly, improving Eskom's operational efficiencies. Secondly, bringing more power to the grid, including from other sources of energy such as solar, gas, and renewables. And thirdly, strengthening demand management measures, including taking more people out of the Eskom grid. To ensure Eskom's long-term financial viability, government will take over a significant portion of the utilities' 400 billion rand debt. A lower debt burden will enable Eskom to implement a viable unbundling process. It will also make resources available for investments in critical electricity supply and transmission infrastructure to end load shedding. Government is also implementing the Energy Action Plan and has established the National Energy Crisis that is chaired by the President. This committee oversees the implementation, amongst others, of the following 5 key interventions: fix Eskom and improve the availability of existing supply. Secondly, enable and accelerate private investment in generation capacity. 3, accelerate procurement of new capacity from renewable gas and also battery storage. Unleash business and household to investments in rooftop solar, and also fundamentally transform the electricity sector to achieve long-term energy security. In the short term, the Energy Action Plan aims to reduce the severity and frequency of load shedding through immediate measures to improve the performance of Eskom existing power stations and stabilize the energy sector. In other words, we will not rush to decommission power stations that can work. We need to be able to utilize those. Amongst the key achievements made in implementing the Energy Action Plan are amendments to the Electricity Regulation Act to remove licensing requirements for generation projects of any size. This will enable private investment in generation at a much larger scale. A new ministerial determination has been published for over 18,000 megawatts of new generation capacity from wind, solar, and battery storage. Projects agreements for 19 projects from bid window 5 and 6 projects from bid window 6 will soon proceed to construction. A team of independent experts have been assembled to work closely with Eskom to diagnose the problems of poorly performing power stations and take action to improve plant performance. As the ANC will welcome the planned establishment of the Ministry of Electricity. As you know, comrades, that the President indicated is going to appoint a Minister of Electricity, hopefully within the next few days. Next few days. I don't know when. Don't ask me about the exact day. Next few days. So at the ANC, we welcome that. We hope it will ensure that there is a dedicated capacity and resources aimed at addressing one of the biggest challenges of our time, which is energy insecurity. Comrade delegates, the crisis in our logistics sector has also had a deeply negative impact on growth, especially on exports by the mining industry. This is happening at a time when global conditions are conducive for increased production and sales, and the wider socio-economic benefits that comes with it. So when things are as good as that, we are unable to take advantage because of infrastructure problems. Mining firms in particular, as well as other manufacturers, are struggling to move their goods at a pace and scale that is needed. One example of this is in coal. At around 54 million tons, coal miners are now shipping close to half of what they were shipping 5 years ago, at a time when international coal prices have soared at all-time high. The same story can be told of other minerals in other sectors. Now, to address problems of this nature, let's take, for instance, a Transnet. Government has allocated the company 2.9 billion rand to ensure the return of out-of-service locomotives. If we are to achieve these objectives, we need more locomotives. This will be complemented by a further 2.9 billion allocation to deal with flood damage that affected Transnet operations, especially in KZN, around eThekwini. Third-party access to freight rail network to raise competitiveness, lower logistics costs, and encourage investment is being facilitated. In the area of ports, the Transnet National Ports Authority has been corporatized. This is an important first step in raising competitiveness and efficiencies in our ports. Private sector partnerships are being enabled at Durban Pier 2 and in Ngcuka Container Terminal. Ultimately, the goal is to ensure that our state-owned companies, in this case Transnet, has a sustainable business model that is able to honor its obligation without constant state financial supports or bailout. We reiterate this, comrades at the ANC, but also indicating that as the African National Congress, we are not in favor of outright privatization of state-owned enterprises. As directed by our conference resolutions, any restructuring of state-owned enterprises will be done on case-by-case basis, but bearing in mind that we are not moving towards privatization. We know that there is no size-fits-all, but we have to stick to the conference resolution not to privatize state-owned enterprises. Comrade delegates, as community members first, before being members of the NUM yourself, we want to, as members, not to turn a blind eye on what's happening in our community. Let's work together. There are hardships that are faced by many South Africans, particularly with the rising cost of living. In this regard, we must applaud ongoing efforts by the ANC government to cushion the most vulnerable in our society by continuing to expand the social security net. I know that there are many people who don't like grants. They say, look, instead of increasing grants, put more money into economic activity. Yes, indeed, we need to keep putting more money in economic activity, but we do need to take care of the most vulnerable in our society. So the social security net is a very important aspect of doing that. The social security net at the moment now accounts for over 65% of non-interest spending by our government. So it's quite a big chunk of resources going to cushion the poorest of the poor. Comrade delegates, our approach remains that of accelerating inclusive growth, encouraging investments, including in local manufacturing, while providing sufficient cover for the vulnerable. This includes considering the rollout of basic income grants for the poor and the vulnerable as directed by the 55th National Conference of the ANC. So it's very important that whatever we do as we continue with restructuring, rolling out infrastructure investments, we do at all times take care of the most vulnerable. Program Director, Chairperson of the session, as I conclude, I want to take this opportunity to wish the National Union of Mineworkers, our trusted ally, well in their special Congress. We have worked with you for many years and will continue to do so. We want in particular to pay our most respect to the founders of this trade union. Comrades James Motlatsi, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, Comrade Elijah Barai, and many pioneers of such high caliber. We want to say today that we want to see the NUM grow from strength to strength, to become at all times that union that will be at the forefront of workers' unity and making sure that it leads the struggle of the working class. We will continue to work with you to build a strong tripartite alliance in our country. We want to say to the NUM, may you grow stronger and be able to lead in this sector as you have always been doing. Viva the National Union of Mineworkers, viva. Viva the National Union of Mineworkers, viva. Hi hole NUM, hi hole. Hi die NUM, hi die. Matla. All power. Thank you very much, comrades.